tithing is a thing. Like I went back and added a section on tithing to my book about money after the book was done because I was just realizing it's in so many people's like I don't know, awareness who have any kind of religious background that they're supposed to be doing this thing that's supposed to affect their like financial outcome in future. So the idea is because it comes in different forms. If I don't tithe, I can't be blessed. Or if I don't give and contribute and donate enough, I'm not a good person who uses money well. And then the other idea is like the more I give, the more God or the universe takes care of me. And like all these kind of like ideas that say that we aren't just worthy because we are, and we don't get to receive just because we do. And we are just worthy because we are, and we do get just to receive because we do. So here's what I found. When people donate and give and tithe, etc., out of obligation, they're in an obligation energy. They're doing things with their money that doesn't feel good to them. When they do it out of desire and compassion and love, it feels great to them and they feel more like in a beautiful flow with how they use and work with money. So it's like tithing isn't the thing. Like your vibe is the thing. You know what I mean? And how you do it is the thing. And that's all it ever could be. So, I mean, I definitely do not give 10%, and I have no problem writing a big fat check when I moved, but I would never go and work out the percentage because I would never go and work out the percentage for anything. Like, that has nothing to do with how I naturally am with how I see and use and respect and love and work with money. Okay, I'll just give you my experience and like decide what to do with it. Like, for me, I had so many rules around church, not just with tithing, but everything about church, like going twice a week and how often you read your Bible and like how you pray and like not drinking and not having sex and all this stuff. And I remember like going and getting drunk, like I'm in college, and I go and get drunk and then I pray and I'm like, fuck, I'm pretty sure God still heard me. Like the church has been like, so like I kind tested all of it. Well, what happens when I stop tithing? What happens when I don't go to church? Well, what happens if I go to church, but like I let different, I like filter the pastor's message based on like my worldview and what I believe and feels right to me. So like I didn't go from someone who was very religious to someone who was very spiritual who still enjoyed aspects of religion. I like played with it all for a really long time. Like I fucked with it, I messed with it, and I figured out what was true for me. And it was like God doesn't seem to be mad that I'm not tithing to a church. And I create really good feelings in my body when I give because I want to, and that seems to create more goodness for me. I'll say one more thing about generosity that I think's really served me that isn't about money, but it kind of is, but I think will probably be relevant to someone is like my company makes a lot of free content. Like as you guys may know, it's like posts and vlogs and podcasts and this and that. Like we give and 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 we give. And I've never done it to receive. I do it because it's what I want to do. I want to give in that way. The free content is free because I want it to be free. And people who create free content and get mad that people consume the free content without paying them are always in this like fucked up cycle of like, she just watches my free stuff and she never pays, where that would never occur to me because I give it freely because I want to. So that energy of generosity over like a decade, I think creates a lot of like divine compensation and good things coming into my life. Like people trust me because they know from my free content, but also there's a bit of this energy of like, I've put a lot of good shit in the world and something is owed to me somehow cosmically because of it. So through my giving freely without obligation, I think it creates goodness. And I think that'd be true, but it's not more true to free content than it is of tithing. It's just true, period. When we do what we want to do out of love and compassion and service and generosity, it feels good. It creates more good. When we do out of obligation and fear and I have to, and people say I have to do it this way, it creates nonsense. And that's just life. We like get to feel good and we're meant to feel good. So don't tithe, don't give money, don't do fucking anything until you want to. And when you want to, do it with love and joy and compassion. And God's not mad at you. I promise. I promise God's not mad at you. I haven't like, I want to say I haven't properly tithed in like 20 years. It's not true. There was a season where I found a really great church and I tithed for a season and it felt good. And then the pastor hit on me and I stopped going to that church and I stopped and I have nothing about it. So that's a story for a different time. So I wrote a post yesterday that you guys may have seen, and it was about paying attention to the exhales in life and the wisdom that's in our body. And I think that's one of the biggest guiding forces for me around money and around everything else is like we make it so hard and we think there's so many rules and we think there's so many rights and wrongs and we think we could possibly fuck it up if we don't do it this way or that way, but at the end of the day there are no rules. There's nothing written in the sky for it has to be, and there is so much wisdom in just what we want and what we desire and the way we would be happiest if it would be that way for us, and the way that feels good and the way that causes us to relax and release and exhale and breathe. So, if you haven't followed my work, like I think my main core teaching, the thing I believe the most that is that my desires are from the divine. My desires are from God. If I desire it, then I get to have it. I question a lot of things, but I don't question my desire. So my work most of the time when I'm deciding on next moves, next steps, next goals, next way to run my business, next way to create anything is what do I want? What do I want? I think is the most important question in the world. And after what do I want? It's my opportunity to look at, well, what in me doesn't think I could have this? And it could be limiting ideas. It could be stories from my past. It could be things in my history. It could be feelings of resentment and lack of forgiveness. It's just like what in me doesn't doesn't believe that my desire is possible. And once I work through all that, I feel so, and sometimes that's real work and sometimes I need Sarah's help, but that's when I get really, really, that's when I get to that place of just like, okay, it's mine. Now my only job is to vibe with it and believe it's possible. Um, and I think in that kind of way, manifestation has become really simple for me, you know? And then from there, you manifest something. It feels weird the first time. It brings up more limiting beliefs, and you have to work through those. But then you do, and then you manifest that thing again and again and again and again, and then that way you normalize it. And from there, you start experiencing yourself as someone who that is standard and expected for, and in that way, it becomes part of your identity. And once it's part of your identity, it starts feeling rather automatic. And then the work manifestation is like a whole new level of easy because you understand it's just about who you be. You know what I mean? And we can truly change, rearrange, shift, and decide who we be, how we see ourselves, and what all of that means for us, if that makes sense. Okay, I love you guys.